Can you speak to how that has felt as an uri of Te Aupōuri? I mean, has it helped with some of the mamae that whānau have experienced, or what?
It's bittersweet because it is less than 5% of all of the whenua that was lost and stolen from these fraught Crown purchases and transactions between my tupuna and the early Pākehā settlers. And when I read the history, I still rika tonu au i te rongo i ngā kōrero mō ngā mahi tinihanga a te Pākehā. And there's still a lot of the whenua that we lost in Pākehā ownership. That's one of the mauahara ki au with this treaty settlement process is that basically you can only access whenua that's still in Crown ownership, but as we all know, a lot of the whenua either went straight into Pākehā ownership or went into Crown ownership and then was sold into the private market, so it's probably in Pākehā ownership now. There, as the Crown has stipulated, land in private ownership is basically a no-go for treaty settlement. Yeah, so it is bittersweet for me. I am happy that we have some whenua to work with, and we've received some cash as well that we've invested over the last 10 plus years, and we've made good returns on those. The returns that we get from our financial investments go into scholarships and grants for our Aupōuri people. We've been distributing those grants for over 10 years now, and we've seen, I was a recipient of the grant when I was at university, and we see a lot of our young Aupōuri talent coming up and rising through, so it's awesome to be able to support them with that. Ahakoa, he eti, he wāhi tautoko i a rātou, i roto i wā rātou mahi. But yeah, I think the most fulfilling part for me is reconnection to the whenua that we lost, particularly the wāhi tapu, ngā pā kōrari o ngā mātua tupuna. We now have access to some of those, and we have the ability to tiaki those areas and occupy them, and reinstate and reaffirm te mana o te Aupōuri i runga i te whenua i roto ki i te one. So that's probably the most important part for me, and it also, what comes back with being able to actually touch those sites again is the kōrero associated with those, and being able to hold on to the history. Ngā kōrero tuku iho, ngā whakapapa, is, to me, is better if you can actually not just talk about the sites, but go to the sites and walk them and touch them, and yeah.
Ka whai, cool. So just finally, what advice do you have for our whānau and Whangaroa, having already navigated this process?
Yeah, I have lots of advice. Whether it's hapu representatives or marae representatives, make sure whoever you're appointing knows what they're doing. So skills and capability is very important. Not only do they need to have the skills to negotiate with the Crown, other important skills include te mōhio ki ngā hitoria, ngā kōrero tuku iho, ngā whakapapa, being able to recite the history of the land transactions, how the land was lost, the whakapapa of the hapu, the history that associates them and connects them with that, with whatever place they're trying to negotiate for. All of that is important. There's also legal, financial, commercial skills which would be very useful in that negotiation phase. Second piece of advice would be to make sure that we plan for the transition between pre-settlement and post-settlement. So a lot of iwi, Te Aupōuri included, have made some mistakes have tripped up sort of in that early post-settlement stages, because you go from having basically not even two coins to rub together to then suddenly having a multi-million-dollar balance sheet that you have to look after. And even that skill set alone in terms of managing assets, managing an organisation to hold the assets, communication with the hapu and iwi members, even that's a skill set on its own, separate to the negotiation pre-settlement skill set. So it's important to be in the pre-settlement, but always look ahead to post-settlement and how prepared we're going to be there. What's the plan? What's the kaupapa? Who's going to do it? Hapu sovereignty is important, localised sovereignty is important, but I would say don't count out Te Rūnanga, don't count out Whangaroa fisheries, because that's actually where the structure and the capability is to look after the assets. Also, the Rūnanga and Whangaroa fisheries, it's important for them to derive some of the assets from the settlement to allow them to do their mahi even better on behalf of the hapu and the iwi of Whangaroa. And yeah, capability is a huge one, building capability. And if I was a part of the negotiation team, which I might be for Te Tahaawai, I would push strongly to make sure that that capability building investment is actually a part of the settlement package. That's a big one for me, to be able to make sure that everything is set up properly, and you're basically setting the Rūnanga up for success. Because for us as Te Aupōuri, on my Te Aupōuri side, the Crown definitely did not set us up for success, and that's the case for a lot of iwi that came out early in the Office of Treaty Settlements process. They were obviously the test iwi, if you will, and mistakes were made, and also the Crown didn't do us any favours to make sure that we could succeed and enable our success.
So finally, what are your whakaaro on, if you go through this process, then you're ceding sovereignty to the Crown?
Yeah, it's a good pātai, and it is a common kōrero as well. I've heard from my own whanaunga that signing a deed of settlement is basically signing the sovereignty, the mana, the rangatiratanga of your iwi away. That's not how I view it. I see it as being very separate. It's looking at it black and white. A treaty settlement is basically returning the assets that are rightfully ours from the Crown's hands to our hands, to be able to rebuild ourselves. And that's what post-settlement is. It's rebuilding our people after suffering major land loss, deculturation, poverty, illness, all of those things. It's very hard to rebuild our pa, rebuild our kingdoms, if we don't have land, first and foremost, and if we don't have resources to be able to do that. So that's always been my view of settlement. And even post-settlement, there's still the fight for sovereignty does not stop. There's still an ongoing effort to protect the settlement and ensure that the Crown is remaining accountable and responsive to what they're obligated to within the settlement. And as far as I'm concerned, the settlement is just a down payment on what we're working towards, which is, as I said before, is happening in a constitutional reform space, because we can't change the constitution and the governing of our country in the treaty settlement negotiation, because it's one iwi or one hapu negotiating with the Crown on their own respective whenua and assets. And that happens separately to the kōrero that Margaret Mitu and Moana have all progressed. Moana Jackson have progressed in their times. Those things can coexist, is basically what I'm trying to say. That one doesn't negate the other. They can coexist, and you can do your settlement and contribute to the constitutional reform kōrero as well at the same time, and you can continue that post-settlement. The important thing to think of is, as I've benefited, I think the key message to finish with is that me whakaaro ngā tamariki mokopuna horekaua anō kia whānau mai. So we hear this kōrero a lot. What about the unborn child? I'm literally the unborn child that Maturata mā had in their minds when they started this process over 30 years ago. So I've been honoured and privileged to walk into a world on my Te Aupōuri side where we have managed to get this over the line, and I wouldn't be here right now, the Rūnanga wouldn't exist, I wouldn't have my job if it wasn't for their mahi. So I'm grateful for that, and I really want to see this progress on my whangaroa side as well. It does make me sort of sad e ngā kaurua ana hau te kite i tētahi o aku iwi e āhua pakari ana, tērā atu iwi oku horekaua hau ko te hakaiti, e rangi kei roto tonu i te pōuriuri, kei roto tonu i te pōhara, kei roto tonu i te whenua koretanga, e noho ana. So yeah, it would be great for me in my lifetime to see whangaroa and to see my grandmother's iwi, my iwi on my grandmother's side, thrive. Again, it's not the silver bullet, there's still lots of mahi to do post-settlement, but lots of mahi enabled as well through settlement. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I'm excited for Whangaroa to progress this kaupapa, and I fully support a hapū marae-based settlement.
So as usual, whānau, you can reach us on Facebook, on Instagram, or follow us on YouTube, or if you'd like to provide your feedback or whakaaro, you can send that directly to kaiwhakahaere@whangaroapapahapū.org.nz. We're also encouraging whānau to register. That registration process is now open, so you can find the registration link on our website, or we'll also be sharing it more frequently now on Facebook. So until next time, mā te wā. Ka pai. Cool, thank you. That was so awesome.
No, good.
It's so good to hear.
Well, tēnā koe.
Yeah, tēnā koe. So just
you know, and I'm just lucky that